way we derived IS and LM curve, the way the shifts take place in these two curves, the point where both IS and LM curve intersect each other give us the general equilibrium. That means where both in equilibrium. Today I am going to discuss mathematically the equilibrium. That means the same thing that we derived through that IS and LM curves. IS curves is downward sloping and LM curve is upward sloping. Practical derivation of IS LM curve. So this is the formal treatment of the IS and LM model. The derivation which is before you, it is section 12.7.1 from Introductory Macroeconomics by D.D. Chaturvedi. So we are having IS schedule, where IS schedule is given by Y equal to A bar minus D into I. LM schedule equation is before you. It is I, which is equal to 1 upon H within bracket KY minus M bar divided by P bar. And this is something which we derived in the previous class. The intersection of these two schedules will give us the equilibrium level of national income, for which we can substitute the value of I in Y. So Y is equal to alpha G within bracket A bar minus BI. I think you know that, student. IS equation is given by Y is equal to alpha G within bracket A bar minus BI. This is something which I discussed in the previous class. Now you will have to substitute the value of I. So Y is equal to alpha G within bracket A bar minus B upon H within bracket KY minus M bar divided by P bar. Now we can solve this equation, and when we solve it on simplification, you will be able to get the value of Y within bracket HP bar is equal to alpha G H P bar A bar minus alpha G P bar D K Y plus alpha G D M R. Now here what we have done, we have collecting terms involving Y, we have taken them to the left hand side, and then we shall be able to get the value of Y. And so Y is before you, and this after simplification gives us equation number 12.11, and this is gamma A bar plus gamma B upon H M bar divided by P bar, where the value of gamma is equal to alpha G divided by 1 plus K alpha G B divided by H. Now this is the value of Y, and we can substitute the value of Y to get new equation 12.12, and this is I is equal to 1 upon H within bracket K gamma A bar plus K B gamma divided by H minus 1 M bar divided by P bar. I think, student, you remember that on the previous page we had the values of Y and I. So whatever value of Y that we have got from equation number 12.11, we have to substitute this to get the value of I. And this is there in equation number 12.12. And this equation shows that equilibrium interest rate depends on the parameters of fiscal policy, which are captured by multiplier and the term A bar, and on real money stock. So A bar is autonomous spending, multiplier is given by alpha G or gamma, and real money stock is given by M bar divided by P bar. Now in the next subsection, we can get the value of fiscal policy multiplier. Student, you know that multiplier means the multiple by which income changes for a given change in the independent variable. And in order to get the value of fiscal policy multiplier, the independent variable will be fiscal policy. So we shall be using equation number 12.11, which is giving us the value of y. And from this, we can derive delta y divided by delta g bar. So that means we shall be differentiating equation number 12.11, that is giving us the value of y. So when you differentiate this equation number 12.11, you will be getting the value of fiscal policy multiplier, delta y divided by delta g bar. Here delta g bar is nothing but it is the autonomous expenditure given by A bar. So if you differentiate 12.11 partially with respect to A bar or G bar, the derivative will be gamma. And this gamma is equal to alpha G divided by 1 plus K alpha G into B by H. We have already explained to you in this very page at the top. And this on simplification will give you H alpha G divided by H plus K B alpha G. This is equation number 12.13. Please remember that this equation is very, very important. This is giving us the fiscal policy multiplier. We shall be doing several numericals by using this formula. So this expression gamma is fiscal or government spending multiplier. Please remember that this multiplier is different from the multiplier that we studied in the previous chapter, that was alpha G. So in the previous chapter, there was no change in rate of interest because investment was assumed to be constant. So in the previous chapter, we dealt only with the product market or the goods market. But in this chapter, we are dealing simultaneously with product as well as money market. So this fiscal policy multiplier gamma is different from government expenditure multiplier started in the previous chapter. And here we should also remember that this value is less in comparison to alpha G because 1 upon 1 plus K into alpha GB divided by H is a fraction. Now here, this multiplier will be almost 0 if H is very, very small. So that means this fiscal policy multiplier will be equal to 0 if H is equal to 0. If H is small, the value of gamma or fiscal policy multiplier will be 0. So depending upon the value of H, the value of gamma will also be determined. Both are moving in the same direction. If the value of H is infinity, then the value of gamma will be equal to alpha G, because in that situation, denominator will become equal to 1. Now we come to the monetary policy multiplier. In the case of monetary policy multiplier, we change the real money supply. In order to derive the formula for monetary policy multiplier, we will assume that fiscal policy does not change, it remains constant, and there is change only in real money supply. So we shall be differentiating the same equation, that is equation number 12.11, with respect to M bar divided by P bar, and then we shall be getting the value of monetary policy multiplier, and it will be equal to gamma into B upon H. So monetary policy multiplier is B upon H into gamma, which on simplification will give us H alpha G divided by H plus K B into alpha G. And here we should remember that lesser is the value of H and K and larger is the value of B and alpha G, greater is going to be the value of monetary policy multiplier. So if H is small, which is in the denominator, the value of monetary policy multiplier will be greater. If H is small, the value of monetary policy multiplier will be in the reverse direction. So that means the lesser value of B and higher value of H will reduce the value of monetary policy multiplier. And greater value of B and smaller value of H will increase the value of monetary policy multiplier. And apart from this, as far as K is concerned, lesser value of K will imply greater value of monetary policy multiplier. And as far as alpha G is concerned, greater value of alpha G would mean greater value of monetary policy multiplier. And if you want to know why, you will have to divide right hand side of equation 12.14 by alpha G. And when you do this, you will be able to know that when alpha G is infinity, that means alpha G is taking the maximum value, the value of monetary policy multiplier will be maximum. Now we proceed further in this chapter and we discuss monetary policy and fiscal policy. Well, student, you remember that in this chapter we have studied about IS and LM curve. IS curve shows equilibrium in the product market, and this IS curve will shift because of changes in the fiscal policy. When fiscal policy is liberal, it will shift to the right. When it is tight, it will shift to the left. And LM curve shows equilibrium in the money market. And this LM curve will shift because of change in the monetary policy. So we can see in this diagram number 12.15 that LM curve has been shifted to the right because of increase in the real money balance. Because I have told you that monetary policy will cause a shift in the LM curve and fiscal policy causes a shift in the IS curve. So when real money balances will rise, there will be a rightward shift in the LM curve, as a result of which the rate of interest will go down and the level of income will come up. And similarly, when real money balances decline, LM curve will shift to the left. Well, student, we can understand this figure wherein we have written that the gap between two LM curve is given by 1 upon K within bracket delta M divided by delta P. We also know that the relationship between K and output is direct. That means when the LM curve will shift to the right, how long or how much is going to be the shift in the equilibrium level of income, that depends upon the fact whether this LM curve is vertical or it is horizontal. That means whether this curve is steeper or flatter. Now in this diagram, initial equilibrium point is E. Due to increase in the real money supply, there will be disequilibrium in the money market, we will move from point E to E1. At point E1, there will be excess supply of money. I think, student, you remember in the previous class, I told you every point to the right of LM curve will imply excess supply of money, and this excess supply of money is because of lower rate of interest, or you can say this excess supply of money leads to lesser rate of interest. So when the rate of interest is less, there will be increase in the investment demand, and due to increase in the investment demand or autonomous demand, the economy moves from E1 to E dash. And when we move from E1 to E dash, we again come back to the general equilibrium. Please remember, at E point, we are having equilibrium in both product and money market. When we reach at E1, money market is still in the equilibrium, but we are on a new LM curve, but there is a disequilibrium in the product market. This disequilibrium in the product market can be taken care of because the rate of interest is lesser at point E1, and that lesser rate of interest will cause more investment spending. This will cause asset prices to rise, yields will decline, and this asset market adjusts more rapidly. Asset market means the money market. That means from E to E1, our money market or asset market is still in the equilibrium because asset price adjusts immediately, but product market does not adjust easily. So ultimately, both money and product market are cleared at E1 and E only. At E, both money and product market are cleared. At E1, only money market is cleared. That means there is equilibrium only in the money market. At E dash, again we have equilibrium in both product and the money market. Figure number 12.15 is before you. So transmission mechanism. So whatever we have discussed so far, that shows that increase in real money supply shifts the LM curve to the right, and here money market adjusts immediately, interest rate decline, and the lower interest rate will lead to stimulation of investment, as a result of which spending and income increase, and we reach at a new equilibrium point. And when all adjustments have taken place, a rise in money stock in real terms will raise equilibrium income and reduces the equilibrium interest rate. The process by which this happens is known as transmission mechanism, and there are two steps. The first step is there is increase in the real balances. That will initially causes disequilibrium in the portfolio. That means at the prevailing interest rate and the level of income, people are having more money. That means there is excess supply of money, and they would like to reduce their money holding by buying some assets. And when they do this, the change in money supply takes place, which leads to change in the rate of interest. In the second stage of transmission, the change in interest rate affects the aggregate demand. Now 12.2 table explain this process of transmission. That means initially there is change in the real money supply. Then there is portfolio adjustment. Portfolio adjustment means the changes in the assets under the money market, which leads to change in the asset price and interest rate. Here, because people are demanding more assets, the asset prices will rise and the interest rate will come down. In the third step, spending will adjust to the change in the interest rate, and finally output adjusts to the change in aggregate demand, and we are at a new point of equilibrium. And this is again a general equilibrium point where both product and money market are in equilibrium. Now we discuss liquidity trap. Well, student, in the chapter on demand and supply of money, you have studied about liquidity trap. And liquidity trap is a situation where at a given interest rate, we would like to hold whatever amount money that people are having. So that means the entire money is held by the people at such lesser or lower rate of interest. And corresponding to this liquidity trap, when demand for money curve become horizontal, LM curve also become horizontal, and changes in the quantity of money do not shift in. So that means when we say there is a rightward shift in the LM curve, there will not be any impact on the LM curve as such. So that means the monetary policy carried out through open market operation has no effect on either the interest rate or the level of income. Well, student, please remember that we are discussing general equilibrium in this chapter, and general equilibrium means the equilibrium where both money and product market are in equilibrium. That means IS and LM curve are intersecting each other. So in the liquidity trap, monetary policy is powerless to change the interest rate. And this is clear from figure number 12.16. This liquidity trap is also called as Keynesian range because this concept was given by J.M. Keynes. So here LM curve is horizontal, IS curve is having normal shape, it is downward sloping. So when we apply the monetary policy through open market operations, the LM curve will not change the equilibrium point, it will remain as it is at E1. So there will be neither change in the rate of interest nor in the level of income. Next heading is banks' reluctance to lend. Now this particular situation is particular to USA, where when real estate market collapsed in 90 and 92, banks didn't lend money to the risky borrowers. And for this purpose, they kept on buying the securities of the government in the form of treasury bills. And when banks will not lend to the firms, that is private firms, the important part of the transmission mechanism between output will be out of action. In the previous subtopic, we have discussed the two stages of the transmission. Here in this abnormal situation, where there was a recession, the banks stopped funding or lending to the private firms. The transmission mechanism, market purchase, and the increase in demand and output was not found in the So this led to further cuts in the interest rate. We all that again the transmission mechanism. In the first stage, the rate of interest go down, and in the second stage, because of increase in the investment spending, the rate of interest further increase. But in the case of reluctance of the banks to give lending to the private sector, this investment spending was not taking place, so there was more fall or cut in the interest rate. Now we the topic classical. This classical case is May I remind you, the student, that we are discussing, and monetary policy changes only the LM curve, not IS curve. So in the case of classical case, LM curve is vertical because demand for money is entirely unresponsive or not sensitive to the change in the rate of interest. Is defined by M bar divided by P bar, which is equal to KY minus HI. Here we are having first portion of the reference showing the transaction demand for money, wherein we find positive relationship between the level of income and the transaction demand. The second part of the right hand side shows the negative relation between the rate of speculative demand. Under classical model, H is 0, and that means the real money supply at the bar is only related with level of income. And so the equation that we get equal to 0, M bar becomes equal to KPY. Now this is the equation that we have studied under quantity theory of money, the classical quantity theory of money, where you remember that MV is equal to PY, and MV is nothing but it is M divided by K. So this classical case implies that nominal GDP PY depends only on the quantity. That means the level of nominal income only by the quantity of money, and here LM curve is assumed to be vertical. And when we draw vertical LM curve, we will find that in case we apply the monetary policy, LM curve will shift to the right, and for which you can go to the page number 256. When we apply the monetary policy, LM curve will shift to the right, and there will be fall in the rate of interest and the rise in the level of income. So monetary policy is effective in the classical range, and is not at all effective in the Keynesian range. As far as the impact on the IS curve is concerned, the same will be taken care of in the next heading, fiscal policy. And in order to understand the fiscal policy, we have drawn the IS curve, which is mathematically shown as y equal to alpha g within bracket a bar minus bi, where alpha g equal to upon 1 minus c within bracket 1 minus t. Here G bar is the government spending, autonomous spending A bar. T is the income tax rate. And alpha G is multiplier, government multiplier or government expenditure multiplier. Now students, we discuss what happens when IS curve shift to the right. Increase in the government spending, the IS curve will shift to the right. The IS curve will be equal to alpha G multiplied by delta G bar. I think we have started this in the previous chapter also. In the previous class, wherein I told you delta y upon delta G is equal to alpha G, and so delta y is equal to alpha G into delta G bar. In the previous chapter, the change in delta y is equal to alpha G multiplied by delta G bar. But in this chapter, the change in delta y is somewhat lesser in comparison to alpha G into delta G bar. Well, student, this is a very important point for you to understand, that the gap between the two IS curve is equal to alpha G into delta G bar. But the change in income in equilibrium is somewhat by lesser amount. The reason is, in this particular chapter, when we shift IS curve to the right, the rate of interest also increases. And due to rise in the interest rate, the new equilibrium in the general market is established at a point E dash rather than E double dash. So, at unchanged interest rate, that is OI in this figure, higher level of government spending increase the level of aggregate demand from OY to OY double dash. But to meet the increased demand for goods, output must rise, and output rise is shown by shift in the IS curve. And at each level of interest rate, equilibrium income must rise by alpha G times increase in government spending. The term is equilibrium income must rise by alpha G times increase in the government spending. That is what we have shown in this diagram. But the point is, here we will move to E double dash only when we assume that interest rate doesn't change, it remains constant. In the previous chapter, we assumed that there is no change in interest rate, because in the previous chapter we explained the equilibrium only in the product or goods market. So we assume investment is autonomous and there is no change in investment. But in this chapter, at E double dash, asset market or money market is no longer in equilibrium when we reach E double dash. Income has increased and hence the quantity of money demanded has become greater. But there is excess demand for real balances. Students, you remember that whenever we reach at any point which is to the right of LM curve, there is excess supply of money. And because of this, there is rise in the interest rate. And due to the rise in the interest rate, the planned investment spending declines. Thus, aggregate demand falls. So that means the rise in aggregate demand is not by YY double dash. It actually equals to YY dash. So that means when we are moving from E to E double dash, our product market is in equilibrium, but there is a disequilibrium in the money market, and this disequilibrium in the money market is taken care of by moving from point E to E dash, and at E dash both goods and money market clear, or we can say both are in equilibrium. So only at this point planned spending is equal to income. At the same time, quantity of real balances demanded equals to real money stock. So point E dash is a box before you. A rise in government spending raises aggregate demand at each level of interest rate. That will cause a shift in the IS curve. At each equilibrium point, there is now excess demand for goods. And this excess demand for goods can be taken care of. With this, interest rate will also rise. multiplier point E and E dash is somewhat less, because there is some effect which is being diluted, or crowding out is taking place. And why crowding out is taking place? Because of increase in the interest rate. So that is, we are not able to expand output by as much amount as we initially felt. The concept is called as crowding out effect, and this is very, very important. Now let us study the process of adjustment. At point E, there is no disturbance in the money market, because at point E, both money and market are in equilibrium. That is where IS and LF curve intersect each other, shown by figure number 12.17. Excess demand leads to increased output, and this will raise the demand for money. Resulting excess demand for money will cause interest rate to go up, and we will proceed up along the LM curve, where output and interest rate will, and the new equilibrium will be achieved